I wanted to share a video on how to choose a business partner. This is actually a really, really important thing in every business. This is really important. Like, probably one of the most important decisions you can make. Yet most people don't spend any time working this out. So I made this video for you. All right, there's a few things to think with when you're choosing a business partner. First off, most people spend more time trying to create a contract for a customer than they do for a business partner. And so you get excited about an idea, right? You're gonna start a new adventure. You're like, this is gonna be amazing. I love my life. This is so cool. Woo! And you're gonna get out there and you're gonna conquer the world. And that is super cool. However, you do need to work out the agreements that you have with your partner, with your business partner. If you are going to start a business and you don't work these things out, you're going to have problems most of the time down the road. And I have experienced that myself. It's totally fine. Like, even some of the people are totally fine people, but we weren't totally aligned. So the first point that I go over on choosing a business partner is alignment, being aligned. What do you need to be aligned on? There are important things, right? There are important things, like the direction the company is headed and what you're trying to do, what matters to you most. If you aren't aligned at the ultimate long-term goal and what you want to do, you're going to have a really hard time, because you guys, even a slight misalignment early on, like if you think about it, you start with a slightly, you guys are just slightly not aligned. And then it starts to go like this over time, and you start to see this spread and this gap. And it happens, you know? And so I would just say that make sure that you're aligned in the direction you're going. Make sure you have the same goals. And if you have a partner currently that you don't have alignment with, then see what you guys can do. You know, sit down and communicate about it. See what you can work out. You may find that you can get some alignment going on things that you guys just haven't talked about. Maybe you just didn't go over it. Maybe it didn't come up. If you're going to start a new venture, though, a new activity, we get all excited and we're like, yeah, we're going to go and do this. And then we jump right in with no conversation about the important things. So your alignment, your goal, the direction you're headed, that's one thing. What about your long-term, what really matters to you, right? These things are things that you want to talk about and make sure that you guys are headed in the same direction. If you're not, and you want to come back and make sure you get that adjusted, or find a different person. The reality is, you may have people around you who are really good friends that would be so much fun to do something together. But if you guys are not aligned, you do not want to start a business. Because, you know, I mean, I've seen that where for some people it just ends their friendship. Right? So when you're coming up to the agreements, when you're trying to choose a partner, making sure you're aligned is key. But now here's the next thing. Talk about the good and the bad. Talk about the good and the bad. And what do I mean by that? Well, because we're so excited and we think there's no chance that we're ever going to fail, or no chance that I'll ever not get interested, or no chance of anything else other than what we're talking about today, you can think, well, there's no reason to work out. What happens if it fails? What happens if I decide that I don't want to do this anymore and I want to go and do something else? What happens if, I mean, this is a really dark and deep, but what happens if one person dies? You need to actually work these things out, right? And so you work out the good and the bad, but that will prevent you down the road from running into a situation where you're stuck, because you're always going to have an option for the situation. So it doesn't take a lot to work out. You know, if you have an attorney, get with an attorney. And these are the kinds of things that attorneys will mention, you know, or talk about, or want you to talk about. And so you just get all these agreements worked out. You know, get them worked out with a person. You don't necessarily need the attorney for that, but run it by an attorney too, the agreements that you guys are making, to make sure you didn't miss anything. I say, look, I don't want to be an attorney. That's not like something I really want to do. But a good attorney is there to help make sure that because they do business deals all day long, every day, all day. So they're there to make sure that you don't miss anything that should be included in there as well. I mean, there's some that are like, yeah, we're going to try to stop everything and whatever, and that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you have a good attorney, you'll have somebody who does and helps coach business deals all the time, and you just want to make sure that there's nothing missing that does need to be agreed on or worked out. And when you do that, it makes life so much easier. It's unbelievable how much easier things get in your business when you're aligned. All right, the next point, and this is just something to think with. You think of a business partnership as a marriage. Think of it like somebody you're going to be with for a very long time. And so you want to make sure that you guys are aligned, that you are focused, that you are on the same page. However, they don't need to be the same person, right? So like sometimes people try to get another one of them, right? Like I'm a person who likes to start a lot of things. I can create a lot of new stuff. I can do that. But I had looked for partners in the past who just, they wanted to do that same thing. And I recommend you at least look and see if there's a partner when you're going to start something new. Look and see if there's a partner who maybe is more on the opposite end. Kind of a crazy concept. Maybe you think of somebody who's very different than you. Like in my case, in the past, I've tried to find partners who were exactly like me, who just wanted to agree with everything like me, like what I want to do. And the only problem you run into is you don't necessarily always just make that right decision right off the bat without all of the information. So you're better off finding somebody who is different than you. They have skill sets you don't have. They have experience you don't have. And sure, maybe finding somebody who's very much like you can work. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm just saying I challenge you to look and see if there's somebody who's kind of different and they bring a different perspective. And, at first that would make me uncomfortable with partners, like particularly the partners that I have now. It would make me uncomfortable because they would bring up points that sometimes when I was all excited and just wanted to do something, I didn't want to look at that. I didn't want to look at everything they were talking about. And they're like, okay, well, what about this situation? What about that situation? And they didn't do it in a way to stop it. They did it in a way to go, let's make sure that we're staying focused and we're staying aligned, right? Let's go and do that. And so because the partners I have are so different, the part that's so cool about that is they bring a very different perspective and viewpoint to it. So just because people don't agree with you all the time doesn't mean they're a bad partner. Sometimes we just choose the partner who agrees with us all the time, and that means that we don't necessarily build actually a great big organization, because sometimes we don't. So look for somebody who might be different than you. Maybe they're going to be pretty different than you, and that's okay. Don't rule that out is all I'm saying. Just don't rule out the person because they're different than you in some way. You may find that one person is a little more excited and driven and all of that. I'm not saying the person shouldn't be excited, but if you're out there and you're creating on new and you have somebody else, like in our case, I'm out, like I really focus on creating a lot of new, and I have the other side of the thing covered where they like to continue and create and build and grow ongoing. We merge our skills together. So my duties and responsibilities tailor to my expertise, what I'm good at, and so do theirs. So, I just bring that up because I've had guys before who, just didn't contribute as much as I did. Now, so that brings me to the next thing, contribution. If I want to create a big business, I'm going to have to put a lot of work into it. I mean, that's the truth of it. So in order to do that, you find a partner. You need a partner who's also going to put a lot of work into it. You can't get somebody who's just going to do a little bit here and there. And so you don't always know. That's why the agreements are super important, right? You don't always know ahead of time how that's going to be. Except you can look at their past production, right? You can look at how they've worked in the past, what they've done, their drive, their focus, the results that they've gotten. Those are very valid things to look at, and you should. But when you've actually looked at those things, you can start to see, okay, I at least have enough information to start seeing whether this guy could be good for me now. If you have somebody who just doesn't really care about expanding in life, and for you, building a big, huge thing is really important, then maybe it's not the right fit, right? But when you don't have the alignment, it's all like crossed up, at the top of the organization, like with owners and partners, I have personally experienced, and I've seen guys drag their businesses out for years and years and years when they should have parted ways. They should have gone a different direction. And that's not saying that, look, if something doesn't work, you just jump ship and you just leave. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, ultimately, if people are not aligned and they're not trying to accomplish the same thing and they're not trying to go to the same direction, then why do we keep pushing the point? Like, why do we keep pushing past that point? So just think with that. The alignment is key. The person who's going to actually create and contribute as much as you is key. Right? Getting a person who's negative and down and they're all, just nasty all the time, that's not going to be a good fit. That's not what I'm looking for in a partner. You tracking? So that's just to give you a couple points on that. And the other point is just get an agreement. One thing I did was got an agreement early on that we would work through any issues with communication, right? To say, oh, well, we're not going to talk about that, and then you just go off for a long period of time not addressing the issue, that does not help you expand. That does not help you build a nice environment for people to work in. And that's really important. So just make sure that you have the agreement in place, that you'll work through things with communication, and you continue communicating about it until you come up with a resolution. These are just some really, really important points that I have found work for me on finding amazing partners. I love the partners I have. I have amazing people I work with. I have amazing staff. But we did that because of the alignment, right? There were people in the past who just weren't aligned. And again, some of them were really good people. And that's okay. But we just had different directions we wanted to go. But find somebody who's going to communicate with you. You're going to get along, even if you guys don't agree. That's okay. You may find you don't agree, but work through the issues until you both understand what each other are talking about, and be willing to take the other guy's viewpoint. Sometimes, you can feel so strongly about your view that you're unwilling to change your mind or something like that. Take a look at it. Be willing to change your mind. I think you're going to find some amazing results from getting alignment at the top of the organization. And when you do, life gets so much better. All right, I hope you enjoy. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Rafferty Pendery here. I don't know why I said that. You know who I am. I'm out. All right, bye.